Hello! Bl'Art here, with Silver Dragon Wrapped in Icy Winds, the Act 3, Chapter 10, Part 1 Shinryu fight. We're bringing a team of Aerith, Edward, and Ramza. Before we get too deep into it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, if you enjoy the content, if you want access to my character evaluation community posts. All good things to have, I think. In my opinion, anyway. So what do we got going on here? We have the Ramza burst phase, which we are hopping into right away because we want that burst effect up because it's broken. And also because Ramza's burst phase doesn't deal that much damage in the grand scheme of things. It's not a bad burst phase, it just feels like... Okay, I guess with 3 blue HP cap supports, it actually does some pretty solid damage. Damn, supports are crazy. That's okay though. We mostly want that effect up and running, so we're doing that real quick. Getting the FR gauge charge, we actually use Galvanize in there. Cheeky little gauge charge by using it, and it also refreshes the buffs from Galvanize, so we don't have to worry about refreshing them later and, potentially losing out on bonus from the burst effect. So these dragons, what they got going on? They had the Elemental Absorb, the Elemental Lockouts, as you see. Kurosame dealing basically 0 damage, functionally. And Aerith actually would if she didn't have so much battery in her kit. That's okay, though. I'm using the Kurosame Call here because I wanted a bit of speed down because they take a lot of turns and we don't have off-turn damage on this team. And I also wanted the extra duration. If I had used Seymour Call, that's only 4 turns. This is 6 turns. That was the thinking there. Luckily, Aerith doesn't care. Getting lucky there. So these bosses don't do a whole lot mechanically. They have modestly threatening attacks. That wing dive move where they missed both of our dudes, that deals about half of a character's health. So if you're not bringing a tank or defense, it could kill you if they double target, but They also do an AoE attack that isn't that scary, but again, I guess in theory if it hits everyone you have no mitigation, it can kill you. That said, that you'll see they have no force gauge mechanics anywhere, no thresholds, and no health thresholds. They have, the 80% stat up, but we always know about that. So there isn't actually that much going on in this fight, which is why I'm bringing this team. I could blow them up with Vayne, I can do some kind of core off-turn counter-tank thing, but that's all kind of... It feels over... It's boring. Not that the teams are boring, but in this fight, it would be overkill. It would just kind of blow them up. So I figured, you know what, let's spice things up, and we'll use an Edward team. Because who doesn't want to see the Bard in action? We got the Aerith FR, taking advantage of his sweet HP attack from his hide buff. Ramza raising our damage, so our supports are all dealing Mondo damage. And Edward, of course, is here to be Edward. You're probably thinking to yourself, Bl'Art, that's pretty cope. I think that's pretty cope. And yes, it is. It very much is. But hey, at least I had fun. And the funny thing for me is, as far as runtime goes, this actually does kill them in the same amount of time, just under 20 minutes, which is about as much time as most of the teams that I run usually take. Yes, sure, if I want to do some kind of gauge charging Renoa team, it would take like 5 minutes or something. But to each their own. What I'm trying to say is I was pleasantly surprised to find that a team that just uses an FR and uses its turns and doesn't do anything broken, it just kind of ran through the fight without any serious issue. And that was a pleasant surprise, because it means, again, you can play the game you want to play it, which is nice. Let me go ahead and refresh our buff here. I'm going to hit that HP hide. We're scared because they're double targeting Edward, and that could theoretically kill him because they had their stat up from 80% and all that jazz. So we're actually going to delay them while he's hidden, which probably was a mistake. We should have just let them do their double target. But we also want Edward to go before they go next, because their force attack is about to go off. And that's probably the only interesting thing about this fight, I would say, if I can be overly critical. Because when it goes off, they cleanse, A cleanses his debuffs and stacks his turns up. Doesn't warp, but gets consecutive turns. So we're going to go ahead real quick and Lullaby. Yeah, sure, we could cancel it. The forced weakness is using an FR attack that doesn't do bravery HP damage. That would be Aerith or Minwoo. And I could have done that, but I figured, you know what, nah, let's just Lullaby and let them waste their turns. The force time itself is kind of interesting. They turn off your battery, which is annoying and threatening, but also doesn't, insta-kill you. And it goes down by 1 turn whenever you delete their turn, which is actually really neat for me. I like that kind of interactive play, but it also only lasts 4 turns, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not really sure what the idea was there. Obviously it's to sell Minwoo, but he's already an off-turn unit, so you just want him to take turns and survive the turns and, And it's not that they do threatening attacks during the force time or anything. Anyway, you'll see here, I am trying to juggle their sleep in such a way that Edward can go again, because his hide buff was about to run out, and I wanted to refresh that, which meant coming out of hide. meaning he's now being double targeted and potentially could be killed. Now, with the delay from sleep and everything, we were able to get him in position to hide and then use Mystic Wall, so now they can go ahead and double target and miss him. You love to see it. Thanks, Edward. Gonna go ahead. Here we go. Refreshing that Ramza BT effect. God, it's so good. I'm really glad I FE30'd Ramza. He's just really, really strong. I do need to galvanize again, though. I probably should have done that before bursting if the high turn rate would have allowed that. Anyway, it's okay. We're going to go ahead into the second Aerith FR because that's kind of everything there is to talk about in this fight. We're going to be spamming the heck out of our HP pluses. And, you know, just dealing force damage, just kind of generically. Nothing super fancy here or super techy. It's just force attacks, like whatever, you know? Yeah, I mean, not every fight can be a win. Usually with the story chapter fights, I think we expect a little more pizzazz. The Lost Chapter and Intersecting Wills, those usually are kind of gimme fights. Usually these fights, especially, like, I've heard that the Bunavelza fight coming up in the next part of this story is a bit of a pill. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Maybe we can bring Edward there. Excuse me. But beyond that, that's about all there is to say here. They did, as you can see, smacked Aerith and just barely survived. That was a close one. I mean, luckily it's Aerith, so she will survive, or we can heal up from that, I should say. We're actually going to go ahead and use Brother's Summon to get that big chunk of damage. One last Lullaby, because it's Edward's hardest hitting attack. And now we're just going to battery through the elemental lockouts. I know everyone's talking about the elemental lockouts as this big thing. It is an inconvenience not being able to bring certain units, but there's so many ways around it. Even in this case, you know, like, oh, your Brothers is locked out, it's earth damage. Not really, if you bring a battery team. We have a lot of choices at this point in the game, a lot of different ways to play it. It's not like it's straight up garbage time though, because the choices matter still. There are a lot of options, but you can't just bring 3 random units. You have to build around the force gauge, or build around the force weapon, you have to have something in mind to deal with the various boss mechanics outside of this fight. And even still, you know, I had to do the thing with the sleeps. That was something. They're going to go ahead and re-force time, and we're going to go ahead and re-lullaby, and that's the end of that particular problem. But, yeah. It's kind of awkward when you run out of things to say before the end of the fight. Edward, I thought, did very well here. Granted, he's surrounded by 2 outstanding units in Aerith and Ramza. So, you could say it was a carry. I will say that had he, or someone else, not been here, A's force time consecutive turn thing would have definitely killed someone. But hey, that's what defensive calls are for, so whatever. But I got to have some fun using him. I forgot to reapply Kurosame after he cleansed, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And you're like, oh no, Blart, you've enchanted the team. They're locked out now. I mean, are they really, though? Are they really? Are you sure about that? Go ahead and refresh Healing Wind. Are you absolutely sure about that? Look at all that battery. God damn, Aerith is so good. I don't even have Ultimate Weapon for her, and I'm still enjoying using her because she does crazy damage, has crazy utility, great support, good FR, works with Edward. What's not to love? God, Aerith, best girl. Anyway, with all that being said, we're about to close this out with some locked out launches. Boom, boom. Edward getting the killing blow there. You love to see it. And finish them off here. Same deal. Fury Brand into the launch, into killing them. Battery for the win. Once again, Edward. Boom, killing him. Jeez. The copium here is pretty strong, but at least I get to use a character I enjoy without him being complete and utter garbage. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Again, this only took like 20 minutes to do, 10 minutes to record. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Adios.